check. We have a lot of content to cover in 50 minutes. So if it feels rushed, that we are just glazing over some topics, we're going to be here for a couple of days. You're more than welcome to ask us to further elaborate. It's a lot to cover. There's a lot happening in our world, in our industry, things that we understand and things that we don't. So forgive if it feels rushed from time to time. Before I tell you guys a little more about who we are, I just want to commend you for making the decision to be here. Joe alluded to the need to create experiences and the fact that we're really not selling products. Right? We are dealing with a shift that is moving the purchase process, the decision process away from acquiring things to earning things and conquering things and experiencing luxury in a different way. And the truth is, this is, as Melinda and the ECRM team like to say, the anti-trade show. I don't know how much longer we can walk the halls of shows with 2,000 exhibitors and 40,000 attendees and think that that's going to continue to be productive for our businesses. So I think this is a great step in seeking a more thoughtful and intelligent solution. So very briefly, who we are. Unlike many of you, I wasn't born into the business. I took my first job in the jewelry world when I was 15 years old, and I was a hostess at the H. Stern factory tour in Brazil, where I'm from. And incredibly fortunate that for the next 24 years, that summer job kept me very entertained. And I was mentored by this incredible man, Hans Stern, who was born literally almost blind, but had such incredible vision about what he wanted to do with the color gemstones from Brazil. Over those 24 years, he made me work product development, audit. I had a stint in the legal department, mailroom, and the more I asked him to be in marketing, the more he moved to the forefront of sales. And when you're a teenager and it's your only job and your first job, you just don't understand why this creepy old man is just like sales, sales, sales. And finally, I moved to New York to finish my MBA, and I said, when I come back, I really want to be in marketing. Fast forward a couple months, he calls me in New York and says, show up at the New York office, and they'll give you a job so you don't lose connection with the company. So I get to the office, and the gentleman who was the president of the operation in North America says, so I'm told to give you a job. What do you want to do? I says, I'm really good in marketing. And that was my first job in the actual marketing department. A couple of years later, I actually understood what he had been telling me all along. When you work in retail, doesn't matter what title, doesn't matter what office you sit in or what country or what division, we're in sales. We sell from the moment we wake up till the moment we go to sleep, and then we do it all over again the next day. Whether it's selling with words, selling with actions, selling with design, this is really what we do. Later on, I added something to my job description, and that became storytelling. And if today people ask me, what is it that I do for a living? I tell stories. I tell stories of my clients, of my brands, of the industry that I love, and the product that I hope people will love again. Pam and I met in this journey of really reconnecting with the passion that we have for the business, with a business that was based on love and memories and cherishable moments, and that somehow we feel that needs some help in connecting the dots again.
So I was raised by creative parents, a little different than Andrea, although I'm sure her parents were very creative. An architect father, a furniture designer dad, built my house, designed a lot of the furniture in it, mid-50s, kind of mid-century stuff. A mother, sculptor, designer, painters. They took us out painting together. So I was really taught to see and appreciate materials, textures, furniture, art at a very early age. And craftsmanship. I became a jeweler for Cartier. That was one of my early jobs. A bench jeweler there, and then designed jewelry for a number of companies. Was then moved into was hired into the industry as a creative director. Oversaw product design, merchandising, marketing, display. Started getting involved with the retail side and found that I was really fascinated by this question of how do people make a decision with a product, a small product, that's stuck behind glass. And that's kind of taken me on this journey for many years. And today I have a business called Levine Luxury Branding, and we really look at branding in a 360-degree approach from all the aspects, and we're going to take you through some of our process. I've had the pleasure of, I really feel that it's an honor or a privilege to be working with Andrea, who is so big picture, and we really dovetail and balance each other out in so many ways. Just a little side note is I also spend outside of the jewelry industry a lot of time in the retail design world at large. I hang out with architects designing shopping centers all over the world. I speak and I go to conferences. So I'm really up on what's happening with consumers globally, buying many different products and also different fixture manufacturers, lighting manufacturers, people that supply them. So I also bring a different view back to our industry as well.
Are you good?
Oh, okay, so don't go through it. So the timeline. We did not advance. Are you doing it?
Do you have the clicker? There you go.
Right. Okay. Many of you have packets. We don't have a full 100 of them, but there are some in the front, which is an encouragement to get people if they want to sit up front. Feel free to grab them. We can always send you this digitally as well. I'm going to move through it kind of quickly because of the respect to time and just highlight what we think are the big changes over the centuries. So this timeline starts with the first coin that was minted in 1000 BC. And let's take a look at some key dates here. In 5065, if you want to just hit that number, the London Royal Exchange became the first mall. So this is where multiple retailers sold under one roof. And in 1845, Tiffany's came out with their Blue Book, which was really what we could find the first mail-order catalog. In 1872, Montgomery Ward's really developed the first mail-order catalog that had multiple products in it, and Sears came right after. And this is significant because shopping started happening outside the store, right? In your home. In 1916, Piggly Wiggly opened the first self-service grocery store. This enabled customers to browse and find products on their own. This is also pretty significant. In other words, you didn't go up to the clerk and say, I'd like a box of shampoo, or I'd like the shampoo. Now you could start browsing on your own, and maybe while you were doing that, you were seeing other products along the way. A very different change in how we shop. In 1970 to 1990, with the development of the malls and the big box stores, shopping and entertainment, again, were merged under one roof. And this started marking another big shift in customer experience. And by the mid-90s, e-commerce happened. With the advent of Amazon and eBay, our shopping behaviors changed once again, quite dramatically, as we know. 2000, social media transformed retailing. The customer is now in the driver's seat, selling what they think, what they need, as opposed to us selling to them what we think they need. In many cases, they're even designing their own products, right? So that's big. By 2010, mobile retail was fully adopted by millennials. Today, 18 to 34 years old, all are mobile users, and 20% don't even use a desktop tablet at all, or a computer at all. We can see how across these centuries, there have been a few changes, and luxury also, selling luxury has dramatically changed. So we're in the midst of one more change. And what's ahead? More change. So Andrea's going to talk to you about this change that we're looking at.
So it seems that even our vocabulary changes every year, right? So a few years ago was e-commerce and social networking. We had to learn what the heck of a shopping cart was and what was abandonment of that shopping cart, and click rate and pay-per-click and all those things. And then when you think you kind of have that under control, there's Facebook and now there's Snapchat and then you're chatting and it's all so instant and so fast. And most recently, this X became like the crux of my existence, right? So it was UX, CX, RX, and you go like, what the heck is going on? Are we becoming, it's a land of acronyms. But what these all have in common is that they really relate not on us, they don't focus on us, they focus on the engagement of the consumer with what we do. Not necessarily the product, but with what we do. So the user experience online, the customer experience in store, and then I thought it was incredibly appropriate, a little bit of a lifetime metaphor here, that the current acronym du jour is RX for the retail experience. And I can only hope that if we dive deep enough into this RX, it can become a prescription of sorts and kind of meet the other RX in the world and point us in the direction of improvement and a cure of sorts for what is ailing us. And then we can get really fancy here. This is what a customer engagement journey looks like. And when I first look at this chart, I'm like, how am I going to dissect this thing? And then I decided I won't. There are some very basic elements to it, where this is kind of the in, and that's kind of the during purchase and out. Here is where you present yourself. Like it's where you find your consumer. It's the seeding of your message. It goes into making a promise. So you start nurturing that relationship. You go into yellow here, and that's where you actually create an experience and you perform a transaction. But red is passion. It's where you actually take that experience and you make it last past that moment. So memories become future engagement and return visits and more referrals, and the cycle goes on and on and on. It's actually quite interesting, but I'm a bit of a geek. So I dived into it, and then I said, you know what? It's not different at all to how we were trained in how to sell. Customer walks through your door, you try to not prejudge, but you have to assess, you start probing, you figure out, what is she here for? What is he here for? What can I show that will keep them in the store? And you go through that selling process until you actually create enough passion for it that they are willing to give you money for the product. So the only thing that is really different here in this process is where things happen. This entire first phase here is no longer happening after they walk into your store. It's happening elsewhere. We're going to talk a lot about that, but I'm going to let Pam take over to talk about the engagement in the store.
So yeah, now we're inside your physical space for those of you who are retailers. And this is about understanding the path to purchase. So it's really, as Andrea just said, it's built on what we call special moments that drive engagement. That drive engagement with you and your customer, and that also drive engagement in that customer's mind. This is really what is customer experience. And these are the things that create really meaningful connections. Everything matters, from your sales approach through your merchandise presentations, the lighting, the sound. I don't know if anybody noticed, there's actually a scent in the room. Sensory merchandising is a big thing today. The tone of voice, interactive displays, everything has to also work in harmony. It's a pretty big challenge. And the store is this place to create memories. That's the one thing that you can really do that sometimes you really can't do online. And your customers want to share. They want to share with you, and they want to share with their world. And this is what inspires loyalty. So I'm going to take you through an interesting study that Lippincott, who's a research and design firm, did, called Designing Happiness. And this is really to provide some guidance around how we can think about customer experience a little bit differently. They believe that more than half of somebody's happiness is built on these moments of anticipation and remembering. Think about when you last took your vacation. When did it make you feel good? Maybe thinking about it makes you feel good right now. Think about when you were planning it, the breaks that you took in your office possibly, the imagining, the comfort, the white sand, the whole experience of taking a break. Too many brands and retailers really focus on the interaction, and they don't think enough or consider enough what happens before and what happens after. Our feelings are really connected to the experience. That's how we have memory. And it's much more than what you do. So there are companies that we know of that leave you beautiful chocolates at the end of your meal. These things aren't insignificant. And there's a company in New York, Levin Madison, it's a very famous restaurant. They have somebody called a dream weaver. And this dream weaver makes things happen on the spot. So there was a couple from Europe that had come in. They were with their kids. Levin Madison has these fancy many-course meals. And they had mentioned that they were leaving the next day and they hadn't had pizza. And the dream weaver went in and actually ordered a great New York pizza and had it served as part of their course. So this created an amazing memory for that experience that this family had with this company, and it's just one example. So these are, meaningful connections with customers, and that's what we really are looking at making today. Not that you haven't for many, many years. You guys are the pros, but there's a different way of thinking about it. This chart here shows that you can really double your return on investment by creating these emotionally engaged customers. The gray that you see are your highly satisfied customers. That's a good thing. But the yellow are the emotionally connected customers. It's much higher, if you notice. Companies that really engage in this experiential marketing or go the extra mile often really don't know how to quantify the thinking behind it or the urge to do it. And this scientist, Peter Criss, the research scientist, decided to look into this, and he wrote a Harvard Business Review paper on it. How do these actions actually increase revenue? So he looked at these investment strategies and sales results of two 1 billion plus companies. One that was very transactional based, which prioritized the value of transactions and the frequency of the visits, and the other one that was subscription based, so they valued the client retention and relationships. And the investments in the relationship building yielded 140% higher results. Statistics show that these clients are going to spend a lot more money in your bank. They're going to produce 40 more visits to your store, 40% more visits to your store every year. It's quite a phenomenon, and it's a very interesting study. And I'm happy to also share the happiness study with anybody that wants. I have it printed. Okay, we're going to move on to global insights. I got it. Okay.
So we're going to go a little more big picture with the next slide here. And then I'm going to cite just a couple of stats to kind of illustrate the point. We are looking at 3 to 4% compound growth by 2020. So that means we're going to continue to chug along. Hopefully the economy stays stable. There's no nuclear war. And we see that it's going to continue to be a bit of a struggle for the foreseeable future. But that's not really the number that we need to be looking at, because this kind of gives you perhaps a false sense of comfort and confidence that it's not gonna be great, but it's gonna be okay. And the truth is that while this is happening, the wearable luxury category, meaning jewelry and watches, keeps losing ground to other categories, especially the home market. Experiential luxury, things that you acquire, experiences that you buy, and how you build your home, are growing at close to 20% rate. So we are simply not just doing well enough there. I think one of the most incredible trends in the market today is how casual products have earned their place among luxury purchases. So had I shown up to do this talk 10 years ago in my ripped jeans, my boss would have sent me up to my room. He says, "What are you thinking, Andrea?" And that gold sneaker at $21,000 is proof of that. As is, I'm sure all of you have great examples, whether it is, a gold-plated iPhone, or, as I'm going to get to later, a $5 cup of coffee. There are some really exciting things happening here if we just broaden our minds to what luxury really means today, and we're going to get there. So the Geeky Me put a couple of charts here, and basically, as you can't see so far away, what this shows is this is the growth rate of personal luxury goods, jewelry and watches. These are consumable experiences, accessible and aspirational cars, out-of-home luxury experiences, and in-home luxury experiences. In short, we're just not doing that well, despite what we think. I got it? So in terms of numbers, I just want to point you to a very specific line in this chart here. So this is our audience today, 2016, the last number available, and this is projected for 2020. There isn't much change in the chart, except for this line here. 25 to 34, both on the female side and the male side. And I don't have to tell you that these are the dreaded millennials. The M word comes into play. And there's some interesting numbers here that we need to understand. 80% of consumers today are interacting with brands in the digital space before they walk into a store. 54% of them actually are very welcoming of your alerts to tell them what's happening in store. 87% of them only go to a store after they've researched online. 2 in 3 find that they did not find the information in store that they wanted to be educated, and 43% of them leave frustrated. 88% of your in-store displays go unnoticed. And yet, 40% of them spend more in store than they had planned to, versus only 25% online. Now, the other dreaded M word is mobile, and we will get to that. Because 35% of all shoppers are doing this homework online first, and it's a third of those are mobile transactions. And out of the 18 to 34-year-olds, it's 59%. So if you combine our loss of category spending against the other luxury categories, the growth of that line of 18 to 34, both in male and female, and the fact that 59% of them are actually on mobile, I don't know what you guys need to see in front of you to know that this is where you also need to be. So as we look at mobile, at first, we said, okay, mobile is email marketing, and it's just being on the phone where the consumer has, a very easy access to you. But it's so much bigger now because there's a third M word that you need to be mindful of, and now it's M-commerce. Because it's not just about communicating so you can drive to a retail website or a branded website, but there's the growth of the social platforms, there's selling on social, there's the digital integration of your mobile and social strategies with your brick and mortar business. And then, if we boil down to actually what we do, this entire thing is the new clienteling. You wouldn't dream of hiring a salesperson in the past that either didn't have a great client book or that didn't have the ability to really create a great client book. That was number one on my list, and as I trained 3,600 salespeople in 32 countries, I was always looking for those that had the ability to build and maintain an active client book. Our business is dependent on them. Today, that clienteling has to include being digitally savvy and understanding how to communicate with clients online, and especially understanding the fast pace of mobile communications. This is the new clienteling, and it is a skill that if they don't have, they have to develop. We're going to talk a little bit about it. So as far as the actual influence of mobile purchases on the business, what we're looking here is just in the sheer number. In the stats, 1.65 billion active mobile users with 1 million new active users every day. Top brands seeing that a rate of engagement extremely higher on mobile than just in simply e-commerce websites. And the fact is that this community is actually very welcoming of products. They don't mind when you post a piece of jewelry or a photo of a watch on your Instagram page. You know, there's this, oh, you can't go to commercial. Yes, you cannot go 100% commercial, but they truly don't mind being exposed to your products. And how do we behave on mobile? And remind you, when I started direct marketing, because that's how old I am, we were very happy with the 3% response rate to a catalog or anything like that. Let's take a look at some of these numbers. 73% research an item before purchasing. 70% are checking prices of items and comparing it to the competition. Locating a store via a geolocator tour, 60%. I mean, I can go down the chart, but those numbers are nothing to sneeze at. Now, the other thing about mobile marketing is that it's also bringing your competitor into your space. The same way that that customer can find you wherever they are, they're also comparing the products that you carry and what you're doing in real time in your store to the competitor down the street, to the other store that may carry the same line or that carries a similar product or that carries a cheaper alternative to your branded product. So being aware of this, then what do we do? If that mobile activity and the great connection that we all have, which is the great equalizer, right? If you spend a little bit of money with your digital presence, everybody can look like $1 million. But then how do you stand out? It's when they're in store and they came in because of that mobile activity. It's what you do with them in the space that is the great differential. That's how you keep them, and that's how you get their money. The rate of influence here, again, I talked about this, it's about 30% of all e-commerce transactions are starting online. Out of this, 54% on smartphone and 46% in tablets. And this number will continue to grow because smartphones get bigger and better. The internet, whether it's broadband or Wi-Fi, gets faster and more accessible. So this is only going to trend upwards as we move along. And this is literally a study by Statista, and this has Bain and Company behind it, which, by the way, I forgot to say early on. All the numbers that you're seeing here are either McKinsey or Bain financial reports across both the jewelry industry and the luxury industry. And then a lot of the charts are actually Statista putting together their data. And then what you're seeing here is mobile driving business to retail sites. So like yours, if you're a multi-brand retailer, 56%, to direct-to-brand sites, 34%, and then the ranging influence of the different social networks, with Facebook still at the top in terms of direct connection to transactions done online. I'm just going to glance over this here because it's a little bit of too much information at the moment, but again, 95% of consumers following a brand they like on social networks. 71% of those who have a good social media service experience are likely to recommend you to others. And 93% is especially important for bridal here. 93% of Pinterest users plan their purchases based on the pins that they create. And that takes us to Yelp. The people hate us on Yelp, or people love us on Yelp. And we all know cases of an unfair review or someone who was just difficult and posted a nasty review, and what do we do? And there was this whole discussion in the beginning. Do you respond? Do you ask them to take it down? Do you fight? What do you pay someone to post positive reviews to balance it out? There's a lot of discussion going on. Again, unavoidable. And when something is unavoidable, it really means just face it and deal with it. It doesn't mean bury the head in the sand and make it go away. 63% of those consumers are likelier to make a purchase from websites that actually shows customer reviews. So you actually should be proactive about it. 61% read an online review before making that purchase decision. And consumer reviews are 12 times more trusted than product descriptions. And I can tell you right now that a lot of us built our businesses knowing that if you did a good job with mom and dad, when the kids got married, you're going to sell 2 or 3 engagement rings and then the baby gifts, and you kind of had that whole, generational chain of custody planned, right? Because you're like, I own this family, I'm going to sell it. Guess what? They trust an anonymous review on a social website more than mom and dad. That's where we're going to go. So we're going to take it indoors now, because the world isn't all mobile after all. It's just heavily influenced by it. And there's been a lot of talk recently about the big digital giants opening retail stores. What is it that they're doing with their retail spaces? Why is it that they're doing that? Is it important to have a retail store in your omni-channel strategy? And by that we mean you have to hit them at every corner possible. And what's the role of your physical space in that mix? And as I said before, and Pam, especially being a professional with experience in the retail space design, we know that the real differential is the emotional connection that you can create in person with your consumer. And this is why the big guys are looking to showroom and create spaces where they hope to create a closer personal connection. Now you have that, you just have to be savvier about the other part. And your store is really starting, your in-store sale is really starting on that first click. This is the takeaway number here. While US shoppers only spent $134 billion online last year, they spent $2.9 trillion in stores like yours. And mobile influenced $1 trillion of that. So while they're growing, you still have a huge share of the pie. And the way to capture that and keep growing is to engage with them at every level. Now, going beyond mobile, we're also seeing the rise of other tech-based strategies. And the boogeyman in the room is that we all thought the internet was going to kill us. When the first e-commerce websites came around, I met with many of you guys and your friends, and you told me, well, if this brand has their own e-commerce website, I will not carry their line. They're competing with me. Oh no, they have like their own Instagram page. No. I have to do the customer communication. I don't have to tell you that this is not true anymore. So we carved our new word, and I call it retaility. And it is the reality of being retail today. Technology is a bridge to the heart. It's not the boogeyman in the room. It is through the use of smart technology that you're going to get close to that customer again. Is where you're going to find him or her, is how you're going to get them to engage with you. You're going to tell stories by using devices such as virtual reality in store and augmented reality. And it may sound like the Jetsons world where people are still not flying in cars everywhere, but it is happening. And what that allows you to do, we're going to play a quick video, what that allows you to do is to actually tell the story behind the product.
And
a venture by Jewelers Mutual that actually creates a holographic augmented reality terminal in the store. And here they have they're showcasing the ability to really look at a 3D diamond in the store. You can look at your different bridal collections. You can look at different lines that you carry. You can actually tell a story through that hologram that takes you into the mind and expose the entire process to the consumer with transparency and confidence right in the retail space. This situation up here is a brand called Coordinates Collection, and what their holographic terminal in store allows you to do is to customize a product. I'm actually wearing some of their bracelets. So you engrave the memory of a special place or moment on your bracelet. No inventory to carry. The customer orders in your store online, you process the sale, and they get it delivered to them in 3 weeks. Personal, wearable, customizable memory. Nothing is more personal than that. As a sidebar, I gave 2 to my cousins that just adopted a baby boy from Korea, with the coordinates of the city in Korea where they went to get the baby. It's gonna bring tears to my eyes again. Anyway, the Facebook post that they did afterwards, best Christmas present ever. And then here on the side what you have is Rent the Runway retail store. I know it's a controversial topic. How do you rent jewelry? Believe me, talk to your insurance company, because it is much easier than you think. I'm not advocating that you should. However, if you look at Rent the Runway numbers, if you look at their numbers, it's going to be the first billion-dollar company in the United States created and operated by women in a couple of years. And what they do is direct data that shows the customers that have a great experience with them renting products are 5 or 6 times more likely to actually buy that product instead of returning it. And by the way, the wow factor of receiving that box with the extra free size and the breath mints and the tape and the insoles for the shoes, they thought of every touch point around the experience of wearing a dress to go out to a party. And they delivered that experience to you in a box. There you go. Again, technology allowing you to really get in touch with your consumer in a very personal way. So Eluxor is a platform that, among other things, it's a big marketplace, but one of their features is this custom pop-up shop. So your sales associates have the ability to, in a way that is branded and designed by you, customize the experience to the consumer and send a custom pop-up shop via app, by phone, to a consumer to look at product, either buy online or come to you. And then a very low-tech form of engagement, the cleaning product. Who of you, among you, has bought a pair of boots at Timberland? Nobody buys Timberland anymore? It's okay, it's an old brand, everybody has it. Do you guys remember how much the cleaning products at Timberland cost? Like $70 for a suede cleaner? Everybody buys it. You don't dare walk out of Timberland buying that product. Now, why are we selling merchandise for thousands of dollars and telling the customers it's okay to wash with water and soap? Trial and membership programs, and scent.
So scent, as we said, is an important part of this sensory experience. It really matters because people linger in your store. I don't know if you noticed the scent. It kind of is calming. It makes you feel good if you like it. Anyway, for brands, it welcomes everybody into the store with a fresh impression. It is a way for you as a brand to differentiate yourself and to, again, on a sensory level, impart something that is beyond words and within the experience. And it can be used in certain areas of your store. So let's say you just want to scent the bridal area. The company, Scent Air, that we have this from, and there are some samples outside, have thousands. They are the largest scent producer in the world. They produce scent for Tiffany's and hotels and you name it. And also small boutiques, and many people are adapting it. A lot of us have candles in our home. It's the same idea. But they have scents that can be specified, if not a signature scent for yourself. They have scents that they can specify up in high-end luxury, in all to emote all different feelings. And I also have a little palette here that if you want to play with it, I have a bunch of different scents that we can play with after.
I'm going to skip to
Luxury.
the game changer. So yes, you can say mobile is a big game changer right now. I'm understanding, the retail design, creating experiences, big game changer. The real game changer is what the heck is luxury today? What does it mean for the consumer? Therefore, what should it mean to you? So this is the traditional definition.
So Webster says luxury is the state of great comfort and extravagant living, and an inessential, desirable item that is expensive or difficult to obtain. Does anybody really want that today?
I kid you not, this is what we do. So then it brings me to the point of Apple and Starbucks. And after living in New York for almost 25 years, I've been living in Seattle for the last 2 years, and I have my friends from Seattle here that will relate to that. It's very humbling to go from a place like New York where everything revolves around fashion and luxury, and go to a place where most people don't give a damn about what we do. It's just horrific. I mean, they look at me like, you're in like, what, jewelry? Like really stuff that you wear? So it brings me to Apple and Starbucks, two great companies that I will venture saying are some of the most successful luxury brands in the world today. And again, sometimes it's easier to see it in Apple because, of course, they spend a lot of money in research and development. They really design beautiful product, packaging, it's delivered. There's a line for it. It's, they do everything the luxury companies do, only they do it for technology, for tech accessories, and for the stuff that you really can't live without, like jewelry we can live without. Starbucks, however, takes it to a whole other level. They're brewing the same cup of coffee with hot water, by the way, that you can buy on every corner for 30 cents. In New York City, I think it's 99 cents from the street vendor. You pay $5 for it, and you're happy about it.
But you also get your name on the cup, and you get to hang out with your friends inside Starbucks.
So if that is not luxury, then sorry, I don't know what luxury is anymore. Because if you make me pay, I think it's $5.39 for my macchiato, and it's still hot water over coffee with a bit of caramel sauce in it, yeah, it's brilliant. And then we have this example as well.
Sephora and Harry Winston. I mean, can you tell the difference? It just shows the democratization of luxury, and really have all the up and down the market have we borrowed and kind of merged this whole idea of shopping.
So if we then really start to understand how the consumer sees luxury and what they perceive as luxury to be, how do we go from selling to them, who think like us, who were indoctrinated by the industry, who listened to every A Diamond is Forever commercial and watched, shopped on Fifth Avenue and major street flagships. How do we go from selling to them to selling to him? So, meet Henry. The Henrys are the high earners, but not rich yet. So this is the millennial. And honestly, they're yours for the next 10 years. And God save you, because the generation coming after him is my daughter. Ha!
I'm going to just move this down.
We're going to skip this.
Yeah.
And so the point of this message about the Henrys, whether it's a Henrietta or Henry, is how do you actually craft a message that resonates with them when their system of values and desires are completely different than everything that worked for us in the past?
So we're going to look at really what this process is and how you can truly distinguish yourself. And what we have learned today, and what we know, is that distinguishing your brand has a lot more to do with going through some of the traditional processes and really asking yourself, who am I, and am I relevant today? The other thing is you can't really give a brand away to somebody, right? It has to be felt. Oh, jumped on. Okay. it has to be felt in the hearts and minds of the consumers. So we've developed this tree, and it provides an overall look of our branding, how we work with our clients, and what the branding experience is. Above ground, you see the tree in full bloom. This is what your customers see. This is what we all get in touch with. And these are all the touch points. If you see the center, that represents the flower, represents your customers. And everything else is the touch point. So all of those leaves, and of course, when I started this, there were maybe 5 leaves on the tree. Now the leaves keep growing, and there are many more. It's everything that makes up a really dynamic brand. And you do have, I believe you have a picture of this in your packet. So from store design and texture to social engagement, all of the touch points that come in contact with the experience. Notice how the leaves dovetail with technology and social media also, digital media, website. But it's still not everything. We're not saying today that digital is 100% your business. It's a piece of it, it's a tool. So like a tree that requires water to grow and sun and energy, we need to really have this discipline for our own brand and put a lot of attention and time in order for it to thrive. Underneath the tree, below it, where the brand strategy and the creative development sprout, this is where we determine all of our strategies from digital to engagement. It's where we explore the competitive landscape, determine our positioning, culture, personality, beyond just what our merchandise is, what really sets us apart. And here's where vision and innovation take root. And Henry Ford said, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So vision really has to come from the top and trickle down. And here, it's the nourishment of the tree. Understanding that technology, as Andrea said, is the bridge to the heart and the soul to your business. Defining your audience and understanding not just who they are, but what motivates them, what makes them happy, and how to really cleverly engage them and stay abreast of their constantly changing behaviors and attitude. So all of this funnels up through the trunk to really nurture the brand and through this full blossom and vitality. And we've kind of simplified a very interesting process.
So just to finish it off, it is the end of it. We've worked with our 4 C's and C's in general in grading how we sell, what we sell, and what we sell it for. So Pam and I decided to kind of throw that list away and create a new one. It's unfinished. I believe that there are many more C's that we can add here, but we're going to show you our work in progress. Our new C's. Oh, go back. Just briefly. So we're bringing new C's in to help us understand how is it that we're going to engage with the consumers. There we go. So from customer experience and creativity to change to consistency.
The computer does not like this slide.
No. To courage.
I'm going to do it.
You do it? To courage. I'm going to breeze right through that.
Yeah,
Okay.
please do. When we get there. Sorry.
And we just picked a couple of examples. There are many more. We kept editing this down as to not be repetitive, and we tried to. What is the problem? Okay, so let's go there. It's fine.
Sorry.
It's fine. Okay, don't worry. So I don't have to tell you guys about Nordstrom's that has created a reputation and is ultimately trusted to be a customer service driven organization where the customer is king, and I have to say it is absolutely true. Confidence also applies to FedEx that created an entire company out of a system that was already in place and whose campaign is that they understand your dilemma and are there to provide service with confidence. Move forward.
I'm going to move into customer experience.
Okay.
We're going to just
show you this one to finish it off about what the customer experience with technology means in the space. Yeah, sound. So this is technology created by a studio called Perch Interactive.
The whole idea here is that you're seeing somebody move into the process completely on their own. Not that we don't need salespeople, but if somebody's busy, here they can explore a product completely and learn the pricing. It still blows my mind that we could find so much out on the internet. We'll walk into a store, and many of them very high end, and even a beautiful glass sign that gives you a range of the pricing in the showcase isn't there. Yeah, I just wanted to show you also that in case you were thinking, well, that doesn't have a security feature, the company that designed this perch, this is actually in the works now. So it is a censored glass. You can touch on things and prompt a lot of information around different materials, around the different product. Veuve Clicquot is one of the brands in terms of change and courage that we just kind of bow down to. They were founded in 1772, and they are still totally relevant and really embracing change today. They've become a lifestyle brand. Their latest digital advertising is Let Life Surprise You. It's just a great example of, despite 200 years of being old, of being around, that they aren't taking themselves too seriously, and they are very youthful and innovative. So we're just going to bop through these and just show you consistency, creativity, cool factor. There's a lot of companies today that are really jumping on the bandwagon. I'm just going to focus on just this one, which is Zadie. It's an online company that also has a pop-up store, but they are reaching millennials through the whole idea of ethics and changing luxury and really connecting with people through making the world a better world. And everything they do is about storytelling. Even the shirt packaging shows you where the material comes from, local sourcing, international sourcing. So everything that they're doing is totally transparent.
So actually, this is a takeaway for you guys. It should be in your packages. It's basically an engagement toolbox. Just move to the next one. We can talk to you offline about this if you want. To finalize, I just want to say, besides the thank you, is that despite the fanfare and the technology and the bells and whistles, we're very much like Toto pulling the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. There is a man